So we're doing the color grid exercise here, and this is all about illustrating color groupings and how those color groupings affect the power and contrast of one another, right? So like we're going to start first with our color grid using a triadic color scheme, which can also be thought of as a primary color scheme, so like yellow, red, blue, but any equally spaced color on the color wheel, any three equally spaced colors in the color wheel are going to be a triadic scheme. So orange, green, and violet is another. Whereas I could also say that my intermediate colors could comprise that as well. So what I'm going to do, and you can use your sketchbook for this, or I think I have it listed in Blackboard that if you'd like to go a little bit bigger, you could use a piece of poster board. We're going to use a ruler, we're going to use colored pencils, perhaps some paint as well to kind of help illustrate this. What I'm going to start with is just taking my ruler right off the edge of my paper here, and I'm just going to trace one side of it like this. Now, if you're somebody who gets, worried about the purity of the colors, right? Because sometimes as you're working with colored pencil, your graphite pencil could be an issue. If that's a problem for you, you can go ahead and mark this stuff out in pen if you'd like. It would be less of an issue. I'm going to go ahead and just come in here and mark off a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. And the idea is that I want to create these little gaps in between the colors so that we can have a little bit of an extra sort of effect when they're isolated and separated. So it's kind of like about discovery, right? So I'll just go ahead and use the thickness of my ruler for my color swatch areas, and then I'll use a 1/2 inch mark as my separation. So you could do however you wanted to. Probably would have been faster for me to go ahead and do use a template for this. I'll go as fast as I can. So I've got it set up now, and looks like I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 this way. It should give me a lot of room to do some experimentation, right? I'm going to start, let's see, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with yellow, red, blue, going this way. What I'm going to do as I come across that is I'm going to try some various things. So in terms of juxtaposition, right? So I'm going to start just in my yellow area, and I'm using colored pencils. For me, it's a quicker way. I don't want to have to worry about masking and all that stuff. Plus, it's important to learn how to shade with colored pencils, building up slowly, using good mark making. Of course, I'm going to beef this up a little bit later, but just to kind of get me started, I'm going to run this way. I'm not going to go all the way down. I'm just going to run this 3 deep. That way I can put some juxtaposed colors in there. Use this carmine red here. Another good way to do this, kind of speeds things up. Use your ruler as a block. It'll give you nice clean edges that way. Can use the cobalt blue for this one. It's a darker blue, but I have a couple of different types of blue, and I think it's a good idea to experiment with those too, to see what darker blues and lighter blues, how they're going to behave next to other certain colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to juxtapose these yellow, red, blues next to some green, orange, violets, just to kind of create some illustration of proximity color. It is important to get your color nice and bold when you're doing this. You're going to get the greatest effect that way. I'm moving pretty quickly for the sake of this demonstration, but I'll be pausing this video and going back and deepening things up. Okay, so we're going to go yellow, red, blue with that. And we're going to go in with some green, orange, and violet. And so, how do I want to do this? I think what I want to do is, I think I'll go like this, G, O, V. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run them across this way, but I'm going to skip my black, or my rather little squares, because I would like those to be black, because I'm just going to kind of use this to make a little bit of dead space in between the colors. So we're going to go for the green. So I went ahead and, excuse me, applied more green here and here. That way I could sort of punctuate my yellow, red, blue with that green so that I can illustrate some things later. Same with the orange here, and the violet here. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to, hopefully my pens work for me today. We'll see how this goes. But I am going to go ahead and outline and clean up. I'm just using like a ballpoint pen here, and it doesn't seem to be doing very well. So I'm probably gonna have to switch to something else. Let's see, I don't know. It's okay, I guess. So the next idea here is that I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna blacken these, which you could use black paint, you could use a Sharpie marker, you could use black colored pencil, but I think that you'll get a better stop out if you're using like ink, like I'm doing. I'm going to pause and then I'll come back and show you the end result. So I've cut it out and I decided I was going to use a Sharpie. Just wasn't getting the lines I was looking for on that, and so what I'm doing now is I'm just going around and giving it a nice finish so that the edges look completed. I think I'm going to bold out my lines just a little bit too. Might even go in and like crisp up some of the color and get it more saturated. So like if I see any white spaces within that color area, I'm going to work to really fill that so that I can get the most power out of the color that I'm using. And I'm just working on top of a poster board here so I don't mess up my grid. So while this one, you know, may not seem very exciting or, you know, thrilling necessarily, what it does is it illustrates that there are several relationships among colors, and when we align them, we start to make certain foundational color schemes, right? So I'm going to get into that here shortly once I complete this. Trying to be careful not to smear my Sharpie. Sounds like they're taking out the trash today. Okay, that looks pretty good, I think. So, and again, I feel like I need to probably go in and just beef up some of the color in there because I shouldn't see any white. But like if I take a ruler and I isolate this information here, make that to where you can see hopefully a little bit better, and maybe I isolate this information that's happening in here, right? So what I've got here is you know, blue and red mixed or near violet creates an analogous color scheme because violet is made of red and blue, so therefore it looks harmonious, right? So like when we look at the position on the color wheel of those colors, as it were, red, blue, right in the middle is violet, right? So when we look then at how we have yellow underneath that violet, we have an example here. Let me cover this up, of a complementary color scheme. So yellow and violet being across from each other on the color wheel. The yellow is super bright, right? And violet's super dark. Each one has everything in it that the other does not. We're going to experiment a little bit with working with complements here in a minute. Looking at the red-green situation here, Same deal. We've got a situation where we have complementary colors, so they make each other pop pretty well. Same with this orange and blue. Out here, I've got sort of a green-blue situation going on. Because of the nature of how I made my grid, if this yellow were over here, I'd have a complement or an analogous color scheme or color families that exist from yellow to blue and through green. So we'll do this triadic first. Next up, we're going to bring this back. And we're going to work with some warm and cool color schemes and some blending as it goes through, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to start, I think what we'll do is we'll start with orange here. We'll do red here, and we'll do yellow. So with those three colors, as they move through, we're going to experiment with mixing those with cool colors, as it were. So this color family, yellow, orange to red, we're going to bring this way. Now, when I do this, I'm going to start with my yellow. I want to ensure that it's pretty bold, right? Because like yellow is something that gets easily dominated by other colors. This time though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shade all the way down into the third through all of these so that I have yellow everywhere, right? Same with my orange. So I'm going to bring orange all the way through here. And same with my red that I'll bring over here. And I think in this case what I'm going to do, yeah, we use the carmine red. I'm considering maybe getting rid of some of the graphite on here because it's going to muddy up some things. So I might erase that. So I'm going to pause real quick, come back. All right, so I've got those worked out. Next up, I am going to do, like in these little areas here, I'm going to go with green. I'm going to go with blue, right? And I'm going to go with violet. It looks like actually I need to extend these down a little bit to do that. So I'll do that really fast. And my goal here as I bring this through is to, oh, wrong color. My goal here as I bring this through is to look at how these colors behave when they're laid one on top of another, but then also comparing the local color proximity situation, like how they treat one another. So again, this would probably help you if you used a ruler to kind of help with your borders and get those clean. Again, I'm going to push my color saturation quite a bit more, but for the sake of getting this demonstration going, I'm not going to have you go through that. Now I am going to use my lighter green. Like I've got sort of a, I don't know, almost neon type green, but something a little bit lighter because I actually want to be able to see it working with these colors. So I think I'm going to have better luck with that than using the other green because it's a darker green. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and maybe drop this in just by itself, right? In this little tiny square. I could also try the other green, maybe, you know, in this square here, but just to keep things like pretty basic and illustrative, I'm going to go ahead and just go with saturated, straight up greens in there. Now, let's see, green, blue, violet, my cool colors, right? So the other end of that spectrum, green, blue, and violet, have a tendency to recede from the viewer's eye. But interestingly, some color theorists and scientists have discovered that blue is actually one of the brighter colors. It's something we didn't used to think. But I'm going to go with the straight color here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend it through. And the idea is that I want to start light in terms of how I'm going to lay these colors over the others. And then I'm going to build up slowly, because if I create a bunch of marking on there that's super aggressive, it's not going to look good. It's going to be hard for me to build it up and make a good blend of colors. So it's all about slow build up, lots of small marks. Take your time when it comes to dropping one color on top of another. And you're going to see some ugly things happen. You're going to see some neutral things happen. You're going to see some beautiful things happen. But again, this is about sort of illustrating how these colors work together. All right, so now I'm going to work to get those dragged across. All right, so I've got these colors kind of blended out now, and so we're seeing how much these cool colors impact these warm colors and vice versa, as they lay across one another. And the idea is to look at these different qualities of sort of neutrals, right? We have some different browns in here, like the yellow-violet brown, the blue-orange brown, and the red-green brown, which I think if I were using that darker green, I'd probably get a deeper brown there. But then I have other qualities of neutrals as well, in addition to, like what happens when I lay a violet over red as opposed to a blue over red, right? And what kind of violet I get out of that versus this type situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to beef up these secondary colors in here, and then just to kind of give this a more finished look, I'm going to blend that kind of up and let it get lighter as it goes up, and I'm going to blend it in with the blue, kind of give it a little bit of a fade. And that'll give us some other things that we can look at, observe, experience. And as you're doing this, you'll come to understand what your favorite color combinations are too, which is important because I want you to be able to really embrace the painting and drawing unit. Okay, time to clean it up and cut it out. Okay, so I've got my finished product here now with the yellow, orange, red, green, blue, violet. And so again, illustrating all these different neutrals that we can create with this and how these analogous color schemes drop on top of each other. On our last one here, we're going to have a little bit more fun, I think. I want to actually develop a composition of sorts. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think what we will do, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I kind of want to like to play with that a little bit. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this down. Now, if you want to try a different composition, that's fine. Just working kind of with the grid system. I think I want to go with like these 1, 2, 3 by 3 here, and I want to keep my outside border. So I'm going to go ahead and just chop that one off there. I'm just going to kind of start dividing up my sections a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a split complement color scheme of my choosing, right? I'm going to go ahead and get everything like worked out first in pencil and in Sharpie. I think the first thing that I want to do is consider how I'm going to break these up. Let's see, I've got like some templates here. Oh, a dime almost fits in there. It could be almost perfect. I wonder if I have something a little bit smaller that I could use. Actually, I just might be able to eyeball those. So I think what I'm going to do is just try to go for like go around the corners best I can to kind of create a circle type illusion going on there. So however you choose to develop your composition is fine. You do not have to copy my composition. I want you to have fun with this one. Kind of thinking about some of the optical art stuff that I remember studying when I was in undergrad school. Victor Vasarely, kids love his stuff. And it's kind of easy to make too. Bridget Riley, some of those other op art folks. Okay, well, it's enchanting to watch me design. I'm going to go ahead and pause, get my design done, and then talk color. Well, I've got my design laid out, so next I'm going to begin working on color scheme, and I invite you to check that video out.